Hey, oh, sorry. Hey, everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I still have a cold, but I'm going to keep doing videos because I like doing videos, so who cares? I hope the audio quality is good. You know, it's as soon as uh as soon as we get to a certain point, I'll definitely upgrade and get an actual microphone. Uh, it won't even improve the audio like when I'm sick like this. So, whatever. I'm here to review another Goosebumps book, Stay Out of the Basement. Now, this book is supposedly one of the best ones, and I don't think so. I thought it would be one of the best ones. I was really looking for sorry. I was really looking forward to reading it, but it really disappointed me. It was very boring, and it was really a chore to get through. It was written pretty well. I liked some of the plot. I liked sort of ideas. There was some really good lines too. Like, I gotta say, like, probably the best line in Goosebumps history might be, "I'm not a mad scientist, I'm an angry scientist." Like, that's a really fantastic line. And, it's like stuff like that was like really, really cool because it felt so original and so interesting, like an interesting take, an interesting twist on things. And another thing was that the dad in this, he was very different than in the episode. The episode is a million times better than the book. It's a lot more suspenseful, it's a lot scarier. It still is kind of scary, even as an adult watching the episode, because of how, like, he's a human, you think, like the whole episode, kinda like a human hybrid, so it feels very real and very, like, there's a lot of fathers who are abusive, they kill their children, so that was scary. Um, but in the book, he actually sort of takes turns being good and being evil. So he's not like fully evil all the time like he is in the episode. And I thought that that was an interesting choice because it made it a lot harder at the end for me to like try to figure out like who's the real dad when they have that scene. And I think that that was an interesting choice. Probably the highlight scene was actually a really scary scene. There was a scene, and I'll say something else too. This book is very dark. It's very dark, and a lot of the dark stuff is sort of underplayed because it's a kid's book. And so I think that that's cool too. The fact that it's, even though it is a kid's book, they're still pushing the boundaries, still doing things that you normally wouldn't do in a kid's book nowadays. Like, they had these plants that were human, part human at least, and they said they were suffering and they were crying, and it's just really creepy. They're basically like not supposed to exist, and like that was really dark. And then at the end, he just like slyly mentions, like really quickly mentions that he destroyed them in the backyard, meaning that he killed them. Even though they're plants, they're still part human. So he killed a bunch of humans basically in his backyard, and I thought that was really funny. Uh, but as I said, the highlight scene was the scene where they're playing frisbee, and that's something else, is that there's a really unnecessary character in this book who's basically an exposition person, and it's like the friend of the main two characters, Casey and Margaret. Yeah, that's who they were. They have this friend, and she delivers all this exposition dialogue. Like, the people at school say your dad is weird and that he got fired for stuff. And, it's just so obvious with that. But they're playing frisbee. And one of them actually knocks the baseball cap off of the dad's head. And we see this, like, insane, like, all these leaves and plants are growing out of his head. And his jaw drops. And it's like this really shocking, creepy moment. Because, like, you don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to kill them? What's going to happen? Like, it was a really good moment. And a really dark moment, too. But then it's actually surprising because he does the good thing and he sits them down at this picnic table and explains what's going on. And, he actually talks like a scientist, too. He says some science stuff. He says some science mumbo-jumbo, as they say. So he was a good character. I liked his character for the most part. Obviously, he wasn't as scary as in the episode, so that's kind of a downer. But the big problem with this book is the main two characters, Casey and Margaret. They are trash characters. They don't really have characters. They're not interesting at all. They could basically just be any kid. So I think that that's a huge problem with this book. And most of the book is dealing with them, so, like, they should be interesting, they should be unique in some way, but they're not, so that's a big issue. So the book is boring, the main characters are trash, and it's not as scary as the episode, so that's a big downer. The ending actually got pretty good, the whole sequence where they go in the basement again, and they go in the basement again, and they have the whole switcheroo scene. That was actually a good scene, but something that kind of ruined that scene a little bit was that the mom came back home. And the mom was supposed to, like, come home that day in the episode, but in the book, they have it to where she's actually in the basement watching the scene go on. And like, being a part of the scene. And to be honest, she was trash. She didn't need to be a part of the scene. It was completely unnecessary. So I really didn't like that. I thought that was trash. So overall, I would actually give this... It's tough because when I first read this book, I gave it an F+. And I gotta say, I'm sticking with it. I give this book an F+. I really think that it's overrated. It had a lot of greatness in it. Had a lot of great ideas. Had a lot of great lines. The dad was interesting because he was, you didn't know what was going on with him. You didn't know, like, he had a fully developed character. And so I really like that, but another thing is that it's something I just thought of. He explains how it happened, and he just casually explains that he was working on a project and he just accidentally cut himself, and then the blood got into the project and he continued working on the project. And now the thing is that it's really highly unbelievable that a scientist this experienced would do something like that. But then it also tells you, it makes sense that he was fired. Like, this scientist is such a shitty scientist. Scientists are not superior to normal people. Just saying. He's such a shitty scientist that he spilled his blood in the project, and then he didn't even notice, and he finished the project. He spent months and months finishing a project that he just didn't figure out. It was contaminated. It never occurred to him, and then he saw the end result, and he was like, "Oh no, I made a boo-boo." I accidentally did something very bad. Oh no! What am I getting? Oh no! And then at the end, he gets rehired after all of that. He. I'm glad they did a good job firing him. What kind of a scientist would let their blood get into the experiments? That was trash. So yeah, F plus. And at the end, it really felt like they were building up to a sequel. And I'll talk about that more in the full analysis video that I do at the end after I'm done reading all the books, because it really felt like an obvious sequel setup, but for some reason there hasn't been a sequel, so I think that's interesting. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, tell me what you thought. A lot of people like this book, that's fine. I'm not saying that my opinion is right or anything. I'm just saying that that's what I thought. And honestly, like, it's interesting to read all these books after years and years of like just watching the episodes, because I grew up watching the episodes and I love them. And so it's interesting to finally like read through all the books and see like, oh look, this is what I missed out on as a kid when I owned all of them. I still own them, and I never read them until now. Uh, anyways, please subscribe to our channel. And goodbye, everybody. See you soon.